Well, don't adjust your TV screen, Johann, because you are seeing double Matt Johnson.
Yep.
It's twice the Matty J in your life that a lot of people didn't know they needed, right?
That's right. We got Matt Johnson with Phoenix Magazine and Matt Johnson with Huss Brewing right here. I'm Johann with Phoenix Magazine, and we're very excited to be here at Huss's Tempe taproom.
Best of the Valley winner from Taproom. Congrats.
That's right.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
This is the front part of the building, but in the back, you guys do all kinds of brewing back there. It's where you do all the brewing for Huss, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And so tell me a little bit about Matt Johnson, the brewer, because people unfortunately getting to know Matt Johnson, the digital content director, a little bit too much. But Matt Johnson, the brewer, you've been doing this for now, what, better part of a decade?
10 years, just over 10 years.
And how long here with Huss?
Just over 5 years in July.
Okay. So 5 years in July, and Huss has been around now for about 9 years, a 9-year celebration earlier this summer. And before that, you were with Cartel, that Cartel shop that became the shop, right?
Correct.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, when I started at Cartel, we were on a little half barrel system. Basically we were home brewing, but I was in between jobs due to 2009. Whole long story we don't need to get into, but was just looking to do something different. I'd been home brewing for about 10 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Knew the owners of Cartel, so they asked me if I wanted to come in and start the program. So that was just really exciting to come in and start on that and learn. I learned everything the hard way, but learned a lot in those few years, I should say.
For those that don't know, a half barrel is a keg, right?
Correct.
One of the big kegs is a half barrel. So you guys were just brewing it one keg at a time.
Yeah, we brew 10 times a week, one keg at a time. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of brewing.
It was a lot of brewing. Yeah.
Was that harder than working like in a big system like you got back here, like in terms of like workload?
For sure. Yeah. Because you're doing the same amount of, like, you're producing, it takes the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Even if you're brewing on a 30 barrel or a half barrel.
Yeah.
But so you're doing 5-hour brew days.
Yeah.
4 or 5 hour brew days,
for
and you're just
keg.
getting one keg instead of the 60 that we do now.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you guys have a 30 barrel system.
Yeah, we have a 30
that you
barrel
use here,
and then we have a 7 barrel pilot as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So a lot of the bigger breweries have pilot systems. Some of them are installing them, things like that. Tell us a little bit about like what you get to do with a pilot system and like what those are for those that don't know.
Yeah, it's both. For one, when you are in a brewery, sorry about the ringing phone.
That's okay. That's okay.
It'll have a weird message.
I don't even see it.
No, it's like hidden behind a sign because. Yeah. Anyways,
it's good to have some special effects in the podcast every now and then.
Part of it is when you work in a production brewery, you're just making the same thing over and over again. Yeah, we have 12 to 15 beers, but for the most part, Scottsdale Blonde and Orange Blossom are our two biggest sellers, and we brew a lot of that. And so it's easy to get quote unquote bored doing that. So having a pilot allows me, but also my brewing team, we have 5 brewers here. They get to brew on that. And either it's a new recipe that we've never done before, or we're working on some kind of new beer that's coming out in the future. That way we can tweak it a couple times and we're only brewing 7 barrels worth rather than 30.
Is that, do you think Huss is more known for that Orange Blossom or for Scottsdale Blonde?
A year ago, I would have told you Orange Blossom, but now numbers are showing that Scottsdale Blonde is kind of outpacing Orange Blossom right now.
And you guys do a lot of kind of white labeling with Scottsdale Blonde, where like a restaurant will pour it, like name it the restaurant name Blonde, but it'll be your beer. We've
done that a few times.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a couple, and I literally could not name them, but there's been times where I've gone to a restaurant, ordered their blonde, and then I'm tasting it and I'm like, is this like, you guys brew this? And they're like, no, we don't. We actually just get it from Huss. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like Johann's German restaurant has Johann's Blonde on tap. That's more than likely Scottsdale Blonde, right?
Yeah.
But it's got a cool, it's got a cool Johann tap handle that he created. So.
What I love about the name Scottsdale Blonde is it's so on the nose for like people from Arizona know exactly what that refers to.
Yeah.
You go to Old Town Scottsdale on a Friday or Saturday night and you're going to run into 30,000 Scottsdale blondes. So like the fact that your beer, it's just like it's so on the nose.
Well, I mean, Huss is here in Tempe. Is there a Tempe named beer?
No.
Okay.
We don't have a Tempe named beer.
Man.
No. We have a Central Phoenix beer.
Yeah, Senfo, and then there's like a Desert Sage. So maybe that covers the whole gamut. It's just desert,
Cactus Valley.
Okay.
Amber.
You have plenty of like, not to say devil themed beer names,
right?
And so I feel like
well, and Double Nix,
oversaturated.
Our new double IPA. That's Double Nix, short for Phoenix. So that's kind of where that name came from.
It.
And that goes back to some of these beers that we have on a flight in front of us. Does that go back to what we were talking about with the pilot program? Or these? So the four that we have here are. What do you say they're like one-offs or your special, like seasonals? How would you classify them?
The peach lager is a one-off, so that's the first one.
It's very good, by the way. Super refreshing.
Yeah, really easy to drink. The peach isn't overpowering. It's there, but
it comes through in the right amount. Yeah, and it's got a great aroma of peach too.
Can you use puree for this?
Yeah, peach puree. Yep.
Very good.
The other three all were brewed originally on the pilot until we dialed it in. So the cold IPA, which is the next one, that one we've only brewed that on the pilot. We've done it a couple times. It's kind of a style that us brewers like, so we just kind of did it for us.
Okay,
I'm excited to get into that. But
I was curious about that. Go ahead.
Before we do that, another question about the pilot. So I'm always fascinated with the process of coming up with a new recipe and then trying it out and then eventually, leading to the release of it if you release it publicly. So for you guys, when you do you come up with a recipe just like randomly and then you kind of write it out with your brewers and kind of figure out work together? Like what's your process of coming up with something new?
Yeah, normally, like with anything that news coming out right now, it's Jeff, Huss, the owner, myself, and then Steven Henderson, which is our lead brewer. He's kind of runs everything on the brewery floor when I'm stuck at my desk doing other things that I don't want to do. Just kidding.
Like the boring ordering of the ingredients and all that. Yeah.
Usually the three of us sit down together and we kind of talk about what it is that we want to create. And then one of us will kind of throw it down on notes and then we'll just start tweaking the recipe. And then depending on the beer, in my opinion, you never knock it out of the park the first time.
Sure.
If you do, congratulations, you crushed it. But, like the Juicy, our new hazy and our Double Nix, we did that about 3 or 4 times on the pilot, tweaking a little bit of like this grain or that grain or this hop or that hop until we got it to where we were all happy with it.
And so you have you said it's a 7-barrel system.
Yeah.
So that's 14 kegs.
Correct.
So what do you, when you try one for the first time, you got 14 kegs of this beer. I hate to say the word dump, but do you dump it if it's not good? Do you drink it? Is it just for the staff? Like, do you just serve it here at the tap room? Like, what do you do with it?
Normally what we do is we put it, now that we have 3 tap rooms, we put it,
No worries.
in all 3 tap rooms.
Okay.
And we'll just call it XP Hazy, XP Double, something like that, experimental something or other. And just run it and see how the public likes it. And then if they really like it, then all right, let's do it. And then sometimes it's just literally for fun.
Right.
Which is like I said with the cold IPA, that one's like probably will never make it into a can. But the other 2, we wrote those recipes knowing that they were going to eventually go into cans and be sold, all over the state. And so we worked not necessarily harder on those, but we just tweaked them more so that they were acceptable for what we wanted them to be.
Yeah I love that. I'm like fascinated with that creative process, do you ever just like do something completely weird and like would it be better to do that on like a half barrel system,
right?
To try something completely
for sure.
Bananas and then
it's like even for instance,
you have a pilot system for your pilot system.
Yeah, when I was at Cartel. It was a craft beer bar that was on Mill. No, it's not there.
World of
anymore.
Beers?
World of
No.
Beer. Thank
Yeah.
you. When JP
Not that
was
I
still
spent any time
there. When JP Watts was, running that place, he had an idea of wanting to do, because we were coffee as well, wanted to do a beer that we used all cold brew coffee instead of water to brew with. So we mashed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, sparged with cold brew.
Oh God.
Now,
Would that work? I mean,
it did work.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. We did a coffee and donuts beer, so it was a stout, and we used all cold brew. I had to adjust the pH because coffee pH is really low, so I had to bring it up to mash properly. And then we, after it was done brewing, we put a dozen maple donuts in the keg and just let them soak for a week. And I mean, it tasted just like coffee and donuts. The funny thing is, one guy at
that had to have been the most caffeinated beer of all time.
It was like, I don't even know if it's legal at the time. I wasn't at Huss, so don't get mad at me. But it was fun. But like, there's no way you would ever be able to do that, even on a pilot. The cost to make that much cold brew would just be atrocious. So.
Yeah.
But to do it on a pilot, it's like, whatever. It's one keg. Who cares?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we scratched that itch, tell us about this cold IPA. Like, you kind of started getting into it earlier, but tell us a little bit about what a cold IPA is.
I like
what
the style a lot. It's come to fruition in recent months and years that this is kind of a fairly new style.
Yeah. A lot of, I mean, for a lack of a better term, it's easy to just say that it's a cooler version of an IPL, an India Pale Lager. Which, because we use a lager yeast. The only difference, at least for us, and what most breweries are doing with a cold IPA versus an IPL is just a IPA recipe using lager yeast. We took a American lager recipe and then hopped it. So it's lighter in color, it's crisper, it's cleaner. And you have to adjust your hops with that, because if you were to use as much hops as you would in a regular IPA, the balance wouldn't be there. It'd be too bitter. So, you got to tone back a little bit on the hops because they come through so much on a lighter lager like that. But, it's still I think it's 6.7, 6.9. What do we do? Yeah, 6.9. So it's sneaky because it doesn't taste like that.
No, yeah, it's
we love it. I mean,
it's ABV of a normal IPA, but I mean, it's crispy and clean and clear like a lager. Yeah.
So I'm interested in the different, I guess, and this is mostly for people who maybe don't know as much about beer. So it's as opposed to an IPA recipe with lager yeast, you did an American lager recipe,
correct,
and then hopped it. So tell us a little bit about the difference between those two, what the difference between those recipes are, and why this would taste different from the IPA with the lager yeast.
So with the cold IPA, we wanted to really dry it out. We wanted it to get really clean and crisp. So we
it worked.
It worked. We should have had him come in anyways. That was Jeff. So it's a pretty simple recipe. We just used some rice. We use rice syrup solids, so it's a sugar basically, and we use some dextrose and some two-row, because the dextrose and the rice syrup solids are 100% fermentable, so it's going to ferment out all the way. So you're going to get a really low finish gravity and get a really clean, crisp beer. And then we lager it for a month so that it gets even cleaner. Versus an IPL, you probably should lager it for a month, but you could probably get away with about 3 weeks on an IPL.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one has more either maybe some lighter caramel malts in it, or wheat, or something like that brings a little bit more body into that beer versus this one. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very good.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I've liked this style now for a while. Anytime I see it, I go for it. So it's one that I always like to order on the menu, whoever has it, and it's, you don't see it everywhere. So I'm glad that you can come in here to Huss and find it. Is this going to be around for a while, or is it?
It'll be kind of one of those things that you'll see
off and on.
And on. Probably more during the warmer months.
Mm-hmm.
Spring, summer, something like that.
Yeah.
Where, we probably got another month and a half on this beer before, people want to go with, darker, a little bit more bodied beers. So
What I want to know really is, when is Magic in the Ivy coming back?
it's back right now.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's on right now.
I like that.
We did, we did a pilot of it. So we did a 7-barrel. We get a lot of locals that come in our tap rooms that ask all the time, like, when are you bringing Magic back? When are you bringing Magic back? So we just brought it back last week.
They remember you for that, and I remember that. It's a pale ale,
It's
right?
a pale ale, yeah.
And
I pour one for you.
it's kind of named, like, the name is after, like, celebrates like Wrigley Field in Chicago, right, where the Cubs play. And that was my good luck beer when it was 6 years ago when the Cubs were making their World Series run. Every night I had one of those, the Cubs won a baseball game in the playoffs. So I don't know why
I hope my wife doesn't hear this, because she's a St. Louis Cardinals fan.
I don't know why I drank anything else.
She doesn't like conversations about the Cubs. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Jeff's a big Cubs fan, so and he was from Illinois, so he's from Decatur, so that's where
that inspiration comes from,
Mhm.
from Jeff.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so our next one is the Juicy.
Juicy.
That's
it. Double juicy.
I like it. So hazy New England IPA kind of thing.
Yep.
Anything you want to tell us about it?
So there's a newer hop blend out that YCH, Yakima Chief, which is one of our hop suppliers, created called Cryopop.
Okay.
They have the biggest and best hop lab in the world. So what they did is, when it comes to hazies, you want as much, flavor, you want that juicy, all of that. So they broke down all of their hops that they produce, and they made a blend that is designed to be used in certain ways, depending on how you use it in a brew, that helps basically boost the flavor of every other hop you use.
Mm-hmm.
So we use it in Whirlpool. So this just gets Whirlpool editions. So after the boil, and just dry hop. So all of that flavor is just coming from that. Nothing's being boiled. When you boil hops, that's when you get bitterness.
Yeah.
So depending on how long it's boiling for. So we played around with it a little bit. I think it's great. It's
very
really
tasty.
easy to drink.
It's got, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like it's got a very kind of piney backbone,
Mm-hmm.
but not in that, like, he's the IPA drinker. I'm not so much the IPA drinker. So like when I taste a lot of West Coast IPAs that are just like, how hoppy can we make this? Like, there's no malt backbone at all to it. There's very little balance. It's just hops,
Right.
hops.
Yeah.
This, I kind of get that like piney that you might get in something like that, but the hazy juiciness of it kind of balances it all out with some sweetness, and it comes out really, really tasty. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, the Amarillo is kind of one of those that depending on how you use it, you can get piney, but you can also get a lot of like tangerine and orange, and so you kind of get a little.
There's a nice combination of that too.
One.
Yeah, that tangerine, orange, like citrus, almost gives it like a very, very slight hint of tartness that balances out the hops, the bitterness. So
we love the way
it
turned out. I think it's really good.
Super solid.
I think you guys might have some more entries into next year's Best of the Valley Reader's Choice picks, because you guys won for Scottsdale Blonde and Orange Blossom, but this whole new lineup here is fantastic. I'm a big fan of, I usually don't like a hazy, but I'm a big fan of this one.
Thank you.
This is really easy to drink.
Well,
and it's got that great aroma too.
Yeah.
At first.
Hazy's that's such a, I don't want to say saturated, but like such a popular style now. Like to make a hazy that stands apart is I think getting increasingly harder and harder.
Because it's such a broad spectrum.
Sure.
Because you've got some that are almost thick.
Right.
Heavy. You drink one and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full, I can't drink another one of these.
Or there's residue sometimes in them.
Yeah. And then you've got, like our goal with this one was, we want to keep it hazy, which is not easy, by the way. If anyone was wondering, it's not easy to keep a beer hazy. Takes a lot of work. But also, like, we wanted body, but we didn't want it to be thick. We want you to be able to keep drinking it and go back and have another one and not just be stuck with one. So
is that, because now when you said that, We want you to be able to keep drinking it. I kind of scanned mentally through all the beers that you guys make, and I feel like that's a good way to describe pretty much every beer that Huss makes. Is like crushable. You could drink, a few of them and not feel like you're, whereas you go and, drink beers from other breweries that are heavier and you drink one or two and you're like, okay, well they're delicious, but I'm full. I feel like when I think of any of your beers, they're just, is that something you guys basically try to keep? Mm-hmm. Just that's the baseline.
We want our beers to be approachable.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times in interviews. I'm saying it again, but that's what we want. Like approachable and consistent. Right. It's not easy to be a brewery our size and brew consistent beer, but we brew the way we brew and the way we process and everything, the way we test everything. We want it to be that every time you grab a Juicy or a Scottsdale Blonde or Orange Blossom, you know what it's going to taste like. It's going to be the same across the board. That's not easy to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I think it's a reason a lot of people gravitate towards your macro, like domestic beers, like, Budweiser and whatever, because they always know they're going to get the same thing. Yeah. So for me, based on that, the funny thing is, like, anytime I meet somebody who usually only drinks those, but has a curiosity about craft beer, usually the first one I'll mention is Scottsdale Blonde.
Yeah.
Because you get that same consistency, you get the same accessibility in that you can find it like at every store, and it's that same sort of lighter, crushable beer that, it's not the same style necessarily as like a Bud Light or a Budweiser, but it's like the same kind of consistency and more flavor, way more flavor.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a good gateway for people who are trying to change from like drinking those macro beers to drinking more craft stuff.
Yeah. My father-in-law, my wife's dad, all he ever drank was Bud Heavy, just regular Bud all the time. And I got him on Scottsdale Blonde, and now he comes over every week to watch football with us, and that's what he drinks now.
You're not that rotten son-in-law who makes that hippie beer, right?
Yeah, right. No, yeah, exactly.
Like, he's trying to get me to drink this crazy Scottsdale Blonde now.
Actually, I got a pretty good story about that one. When I was at Cartel, the first barrel-aged beer I even made, it was an Imperial Stout, and I was so excited about it, and I took it over. We just had growlers. I took a growler over to our family's Thanksgiving, and I won't give any names, but everyone grabbed
only initials, right? Just give initials.
Everyone grabbed one, and one person in the room said, "Gross, people like this," and I was just destroyed.
Oh no,
I was destroyed. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this beer took 6 months to make." And it was delicious. He just doesn't like that style of beer. But
no, my wife will gag too when I crack one of those open. Just the smell of bourbon or whiskey or something on anything is turn some people off, but not me. I love those kind of styles too. Yeah. And
speaking of which, any plans to ever do like a barrel program with Huss, or have you guys done them before?
There is one in the works.
All right.
I'm not gonna give a lot up on that one because but we'll when I can say it, you'll be one of the first to know.
All right.
Very cool.
Yes, we are working on a barrel program right now. We are barrel aging. We do small runs. Like right now, we actually just put a Doppelbock in 3 Stranahan barrels. So that should be ready.
You just made Johann perk up, by the way. He's a Doppelbock guy.
That's one of my favorite styles of all time.
Should be ready for strong beer. So
okay,
so
very
February.
Cool.
It should be
February,
ready. But then we've got another bigger project that we're going to start working on right after that. So
can you put me on like a short list of people to let know when it's available in here, and I'll come.
Absolutely.
As a brewer, are you familiar with the types of whiskey barrels that are out there and that you kind of want to hone in on and pick and choose, or do you just kind of take what's available?
No, there's a couple different. There's Midwest barrels and there's Rocky Mountain, or a couple barrel companies that you can go on and see what they constantly have different things coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So we do tend to go Stranahan, and our only reason for that is our experience with the last 3 times that we've got them, they come very wet. So there's still a little bit bourbon in each barrel, which we may or may not sample.
And strain hands out of what, like the Boulder area? Is that okay.
So, and that's the only reason why the first time we got their barrels, they came, and I mean, each barrel had still like a 750 milliliters of bourbon in it.
Wow.
And so it was like awesome. They're like super wet. So
they do that for you guys, you know. They're just like, let's just leave it alone there for the brewers, you know, for the beer guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and some of the experience that I have had, and my understanding, I love bourbon, but I'm not like totally into it, but one of my buddies is. And the bigger, you know, Jack Daniels and those guys, they know how to extract every freaking ounce out of those barrels. So a lot of times when you get some of the bigger stuff, they come and they're pretty dry. And so you've got to rehydrate them in order to use them.
Interesting.
So we try to go with the smaller guys because the smaller guys tend to leave them wet, and you know that they're freshly dumped.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Double Nix.
Double Nix is a couple weeks ago you guys came out with this?
Yep.
Double Nix is a strong IPA, Imperial IPA.
Yeah. I mean, there's 100 different ways to call it.
Yeah.
Double IPA.
Double Imperial. You guys
it's
are
an Imperial Pale.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. it is hazy, but like our goal was not like it's unfiltered. So our goal isn't for this to be a hazy IPA, but it is an unfiltered. So
I tend to enjoy double IPAs far more than I do single IPAs.
Yeah, right.
because I do feel like there's more of a, and I don't know, you can tell me why this is, but the bitterness is less intense.
Yeah.
So why is that? Why is the double IPA or triple IPA typically a little more balanced or more like less of that kind of bitterness?
Yeah, we go later edition in the boil, so that there's not a lot of bitterness. There's just more flavor. So this one gets a really late boil edition, and then everything else is Whirlpool and dry hop. And we double dry hop this, so it gets dry hop twice. So we'll
is that what makes it a double IPA? Or is it?
No, technically, a double IPA is supposed to be above 8%.
Got it.
Which is also the same as Imperial, so it can confuse people.
Yeah. But, so it doesn't have anything to do with how many times you do anything to it. It's just
although a lot of breweries will advertise, DDH, double dry hop, something like that on the can. And I think in the past, double dry hop meant something different than it does now. Before it was like, oh my gosh, they put, a ton of hops in twice. This is going to have crazy aroma. But now that the science has changed a little bit, you start to understand that dry hopping during fermentation, you get biotransformation. So you get actual more flavor. So we'll do one dry hop about 3 days into fermentation, and then we do another dry hop at crash. The second dry hop gives you all aroma, whereas the first one gives you more flavor.
Why do they call it dry hopping? What's dry about it?
I mean,
because beer's wet.
Really awfully good question. I mean, the hops go in dry. I don't know. I don't really know why that ever. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
That's fair. That's
but
totally
I don't.
fair.
Other than the hops go in after any boiling is happening. So it's
got it.
After you've either now with fermentation, you're doing it then, which be real careful because you can shoot hops out the top, which is really cool. Not that that's ever happened to me.
It's never happened to him, by the way.
Never happened.
Never.
Me neither.
Ever happened.
It's never happened to me either.
But I think it's more just that it's after usually dry hopping meant after all fermentation was done.
Got it.
Originally, and you were just dry hopping so you could get aroma.
Yeah.
And now they're starting, now we've figured out that the interaction between yeast and hops during fermentation can also give you flavor.
So really it just refers to something happening after the boil.
Yeah.
Got it.
I like this one a lot because it's a little bit more sweet than it is bitter.
Yeah.
A double IPA might just kill you. I get a lot of nice sweet kind of candy, fruity flavors out of it.
Yeah, we went way more like tropical, like candied tropical fruit, like candied pineapple kind of with this one versus like the juicy is a little bit more citrus. There is some tropical, but the citrus and the kind of pine,
totally,
like we were talking about earlier, should I store a little bit more. But this one, different hops. I really like the way this one turned out.
Same.
It's 8.7, I think. And
you can't tell though. No, not at all. You can't tell at all. I mean, it's you could sit here and probably drink like 3 or 4 of these, and
then stumble home.
And I really like the can. We don't have one here, but check out the can, because the can. Well, you can kind of see it here, but the top part here is a map of Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
So if you can see, you've got Grand right here.
Oh yeah.
You've got the grid on there.
Yeah. So
Johann's holding that up. Anyone listening on the podcast version, he's holding up to the camera. Check us out on YouTube, the Phoenix Mag YouTube channel.
I love anything that is associated that references Phoenix. Like, to me, I've lived here almost my whole life since I was 5 years old, and like I love this town so much. So like,
these guys did a great like a Cardinals brew a couple years ago when they were playing New England, and so they kind of collaborated with a Boston brewery. You had a brewer to celebrate that game, and you do Senfo, and we talked about Scottsdale Blonde. So there's a lot of great, even though Magic in the Ivy was a Chicago thing, I think people here can appreciate that because there's so many transplants from there, like myself. And you guys really celebrate the Valley through beer names and beer styles. And it's no wonder why Johann, I don't know if you knew this, but they won the Arizona Restaurant Association Top Brewery in Arizona this past year. So congrats to them. I mean, it's no wonder why you guys win all these best of the Valley categories and best tap room, like we mentioned at the top.
This is what I was saying earlier. Wonder. I feel like Huss is that brewery or the beer that you guys make is that beer that, like, if you want to have a really good beer or a handful of really good beers and you don't want to go spend an hour at like a bottle shop, like sifting through endless shelves of weird labels that don't tell you what's in them and like yada yada yada, but you want to drink like some really 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 good beers, like you can go to any grocery store and get yourself a couple 6-packs of Coffee Kolsch, of Orange Blossom, of Scottsdale Blonde, and just crush them and love it. And like, I think that's your guys' like legacy right now, is like everybody's comfort beer.
Yeah.
Like, a local comfort beer. Like, it's there. It's always there whenever you need it.
Yeah.
I love that about
Thank you. I appreciate that. We are a family run company, and we're, I'm a second and a half generation. I've lived here my entire life. My dad lived here his entire life. My grandfather moved here when he was in his 20s. So like,
you're actually a pretty rare breed. There's not a lot of you out there.
So we are locally focused. We don't sell outside of Arizona, nor do we have any plans really to do that. And, we also want to support, even though we are one of the biggest, we want to support everyone else. We want to continue to grow craft beer in Arizona. And, I think we make pretty good beer.
Yeah, Huss is always a really good sponsor or a participant in things that, you see out at like Strong Beer, like you mentioned, or even at the Arizona Craft Beer Awards. They're going to be there. They were one of the first brewers to sign up, and they helped with the judging.
Yep.
We had your guy Chip out there. Everyone loves Chip. He was helping with behind the scenes stuff, getting the beers ready. Super smooth process, judging beers this past weekend. Huss is going to be there when you ask them anytime, any day.
You guys are also, you do a lot of sort of collaborations with like local attractions and businesses, right? Like you've done a couple beers or a beer for the Medieval Times here in town. Like tell us a little bit about some
you guys just did Sedona Beer Company, right?
Yeah, we did a collab with Sedona. COVID kind of messed that up for everyone. That was another reason why we got the pilot. Was it's difficult to do a collab in a production brewery when you're just cranking out batches, and so to get the pilot system is another thing I didn't say from earlier. In order to like have some of these smaller breweries who are trying to grow and get more recognition in the state if we can brew with them. So we did one with a couple with Sedona. We did a couple with Smeltertown. Done a couple with Simple Machine, High Marshall.
And that's carried over to now what he's doing with some of the some other like even smaller breweries, because he does a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, the up and coming, with
smaller guys, Kitsune and all those guys. Like so I feel like you guys are causing this like pay it forward domino effect of like this community collaboration thing. I think that's so cool.
And we're always, as a team here, we're always, if there's anything that any of the other breweries are struggling with or have questions for, we want to help them. We want to help everyone grow, get better.
To me, it sounds like we found maybe our third contender for a Phoenix Magazine beer collaboration. What do you think, Matt?
Absolutely. We'd love to do it. That'd be great. Let's do it.
Absolutely. It could be like, double Matty J type.
I like that. You guys definitely have to make a beer called the Matty J.
Yeah.
I'm in. Let's do it.
I love that.
So everyone calls you Matty J as well?
Yeah. I've been getting that since about 6th grade.
Yeah, I have since 3rd grade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's stuck with me. So, but a lot of other I don't know a lot of other Matt Johnsons, but yeah, Matty J, it just sticks. Everyone calls me Matty J.
I do have a story because I used to be in TV news and I covered high school football. I think we have a mutual friend, this guy, Andy Page, who you went to high school with him at Sunny Slope. I think he still covers Sunny Slope sports.
He does. He announces all the games.
He's very active on Twitter, and I used to post beers all the time on Twitter, and we confused him for a little bit because he thought maybe I was you or you were I don't know, but because it was me, Matt Johnson, drinking you, Matt Johnson, your beer, and then posting about it. And but anyway, shout out Andy Page.
I'm a little jealous.
Keep doing your good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Andy's awesome.
I'm feeling a little FOMO because as so I've met maybe 4 or 5 other Johanns in my entire life. If I lived in Germany, I'd run into them all the time. I might have this exact problem, not problem, but this exact situation in Germany. Not here, especially not Johann Warnholtz's. Like there's one of those, man.
Johann's pretty unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my sister married a Matt, and my wife's sister married a Matt.
Oh boy.
So yeah, we've got Matts everywhere.
We're taking over, Johann.
I love it.
You got to look out.
I know. Well, when my sister married Matt, my mom started calling him Matt and started calling me Matthew, and I was like, hold on a second.
He can't. I was here first.
I was here first. I don't care what you call him, but my name's Matt.
I love it. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this has been awesome. You guys have anything exciting coming up soon?
Any new fall season? I had an Oktoberfest last night. I really enjoyed it.
That's out.
That is out. Any kind of you guys always kind of go into the Thanksgiving season. Remind me of the beer that
we've done, the rice pudding porter.
Yes, there you go.
Which I don't think that we're making this year.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Bummer.
I
didn't get to try it last time.
I know some people make that a Thanksgiving tradition to come in here and get a growler of that and take it home and have it. But
we are going to do a Christmas ale though.
Okay,
cool.
So, which is in the works.
I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, so we are working on that. So that's coming out, and then we usually do some one-off stuff, like we've done, the peppermint patty stout. So we use the milk stout with peppermint patty. So that usually shows up around Christmas or a little bit after. So
I'm excited for whatever this barrel aged thing that you guys are planning on doing.
I know.
If you need a name for it, it's a Doppelbock that's German. Johann's a German name.
I am excited about the Doppelbock.
That sounds awesome.
I tried it yesterday when we were filling up the barrels, and it's pretty good. It's I think it's at 7.9%. So
ooh.
Yeah. So,
well, I'm excited.
Yeah. We have a West Coast. We're working on a new West Coast IPA.
Okay.
So we've done 2 or 3 different versions of that, and they're actually brewing one right now on the pilot as we're filming this. So
yeah, that was what is that? That was That'll Do IPA. Was that the original one?
That was the original one. Yeah. So we've got a new one that will be coming out here pretty soon. So that the pilot, the third edition of that one will be out in a couple weeks.
Cool.
So,
Love it.
yeah,
Well, you let us know when you got an opening in that pilot,
for sure.
and we'll come brew the Matty J.
Yeah,
There you
that'd
go.
be great. We'd
If
love
I
to do
know
that.
if I know him, it'll be an IPA of some kind.
And, we'll make sure not to put your face on there, not mine, because then it will sell.
What if we do one where it's
I
like
was-
half yours and half,
me.
That's right.
You know, so it's like
I'm
it's
clean
both of
shaven.
you.
He's bearded brewer.
Yeah.
So.
And then we'll pour it at Strong Beer or something.
Yeah,
And
let's do it.
we'll be
That'd be
there and we'll pour it.
Yeah.
You know,
That'd
as
be
the
fun.
Matty J beer.
We can
That'd
take
be
pictures
dope.
with people.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. Yeah, let's make it happen.
Right on. Well,
Right on.
thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming by and hanging out.
Obviously, for everyone watching, make sure you check out azcraftbeer.com and come to our festival where Huss will be there pouring a bunch of their tasty beers. We're going to be out in Glendale, October 22nd. And thank you again for hosting us here.
course,
Make sure you come check out the Tempe taproom, the Uptown. They also have food
Mhm.
there,
Yep.
really good sausage boards,
Yep.
pretzel and sausage
Yeah,
boards.
great menu.
And then the new downtown location that I think you guys just released a new cheeseburger that's supposed to be
Yeah.
like
We got a really
pretty
good cheeseburger
breathtaking.
and the fish and chips.
And the fish and chips
Oh
I've heard
my
is
gosh.
very
They are the
good
best
too.
I've ever
So
had.
you guys don't use cod,
No.
which
Yeah.
because fish and chips with cod is so
Yeah.
average, and
Yep.
you guys don't do
Nope.
anything average. So
Cornmeal crust.
Love
That's
that.
great. Yeah.
yep,
Yep. Come check it out.
sweet. Well, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Now I'm
See you guys
hungry.
at the next one.
Right on. Cheers.